Hello, everybody, and welcome to Create Your Best Life with Rex. I'm Rex Sikes. I'm your host, and every Wednesday at this time, live, we stream. We've got guests and conversations that are important to listen to and to learn, to apply, and use in your life to make your dreams come true. Today, I have a very special treat, a very special guest, and I'm going to tell you all about him in just a second if you don't already know. But let me say, normally, how this works is you can ask questions and leave comments in the chat room. But I've been having some trouble with some of these platforms, so I may or may not see these questions or comments in the chat room, but go ahead and leave them here anyways. But my guest today is Mr. Kevin Trudeau, and he's a globally successful entrepreneur and a #1 best-selling New York Times author whose transformational books have empowered millions to take control of their health and their financial well-being. He's also, and I mean he is also, a fearless free speech advocate who's been censored and silenced for challenging and disrupting conventional thinking and the status quo. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Kevin up. We're going to have a great time talking about things that you're going to want to know about. So be sure to share the show out live and in replay. Mr. Kevin Trudeau. Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Rex, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Glad to be here.
I was glad to have you. It's been a while since we last talked on the air, and at that time we were talking about manifesting, and you were helping people understand the process of manifesting and what needs to be done. And you do so many things, and you've created and manifested so many different things in your life. What would you say today, the day that we're on here today, would people really need to know? Because there's so much confusion, so much misinformation, disinformation about the process and about what it means to be a deliberate creator. What would you say people really need? Let's just jump right out of the gate. What do they need to know in order to start making things happen for themselves the way they want them to happen, instead of manufacturing the crap and the disorder?
Well, I think the number one thing, and I teach this in my course, Your Wish is Your Command. The number one thing is, who do you listen to? So if there was one thing that I can tell individuals is today, because of YouTube, because of the internet, because of books on demand, anybody can write a book, and ChatGPT writes most of the books anyway. There are virtually tens of thousands of manifesting success gurus out there, teaching how to manifest goals, dreams, and desires, how to create your own reality, how to use the law of attraction. And at the end of the day, who do you listen to? And you should be listening to somebody who has what you want and has been where you are. So the first thing is, if you want to listen to somebody who's talking about how to create money or create wealth or manifest a lot of material things, which at the end of the day, most people, that's what you're looking for. Find somebody who's actually done that before they ever wrote a book or taught a course on how to manifest. I generated $25 billion in business around the world before I ever gave a speech, before I even gave a speech on how to manifest goals, dreams, and desires, because that wasn't my business. I wasn't in the personal development business. I was in business. And all these other guys who are out there teaching personal development courses and manifesting courses and how to make things happen in your life and how to create your own reality, most of them, and I know most of them, by the way, most of the big ones, I mean, I know them. They've been to my house. They've had dinner with me. I've had dinner with them. We've shared the platform together. So I know a lot of these guys. And most, if not all, started absolutely flat broke. Most of them failed in business. They couldn't manifest 2 nickels. And they thought, well, one guy was living in a basement of his mother-in-law's house, and he had failed so many times. He was flat broke. He was bankrupt. And he said, I figured out the way to get rich was to sell a book on how to get rich. So he wrote a book on how to get rich and how to manifest money while he was bankrupt, living in his mother-in-law's basement. And guess what? He made $5 million selling a book on how to manifest money when he was flat broke and couldn't manifest 2 nickels. Now, was his book a good book? It wasn't a bad book. I mean, it's not a bad book, and there's a lot of good material out there. But there's not a depth of knowledge that a lot of these people teach. They don't have depth because they don't have experience. they know about manifesting, but they don't know manifesting. I remember Tony Robbins, and he's one of the most successful, powerful, spectacular speakers on the planet. I've met Tony once. I don't really know him very well, but I remember he said that he read 900 books. And that's an awesome feat. He read 900 books on manifesting and goal setting and how to make money and how to create your own reality. He learned from Richard Bandler and John Grinder, mostly John Grinder, who you know with neurolinguistic programming. And one of his mentors was Jim Rohn, of course. And he talked about that early in his career. And he said, I just took all that material and I repackaged it. And then he came out with his material. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think he has really, really powerful, great material. But he didn't make money in business. He started in business selling personal development, and then he's had some very successful businesses and business ventures after that. And again, I don't have anything bad at all to say about Tony. I think he's helped a tremendous amount of people, and he adds great value. But when you talk to people, Ed Foreman, who was a great mentor of mine, he made $300 million. And this is back in the 60s. So that's like $3 billion today, before he ever gave a lecture on how to have a great day every day, how to manifest your goals, dreams, and desires. In other words, he made it in oil and gas, petroleum. He made it in restaurants. He made it in concrete. He was one of the ready-mix concrete guys. And he made it in real estate development. So he made money in real life. He didn't know about manifesting. He knew it because he had done it. And then when he started teaching, he didn't have to write an outline. He would just talk, and people were mesmerized because the depth of knowledge that he had was so far deeper and much more complete than the superficial stuff that most of the people talk about. And so that's, I think, the number one thing. You have to pick and choose. Who do you listen to? Listen to somebody who has what you want and has been where you are. And then I think you can get on the right track. Because a lot of these books that I read on manifesting, a lot of the courses that I audit and go through, I shake my head and I'm going, they don't even know what they're talking about. They're taking a person down a road by teaching them sound good information, but not information that really works in real life.
I would absolutely agree with you. You and I met back in 91, I think it was. I was doing a seminar with Richard Bandler, and you came, I think, to the hotel where we were at. We got all met at the time. But back then, and people who've done seminars for a while, I've been doing them 50 years. So we had overhead. We had the cost of a hotel. We had the cost of our offices. We had the cost of direct mail. We had the cost of manuals and the stuff that you put out, or any, the paying for coffee. The second that the internet became viable, I used to say everybody who's read a book on neurolinguistic programming suddenly has become a master of neurolinguistic programming. Yeah. They had no expenses to do anything. I mean, yes, the internet at one time was expensive and things like that, but suddenly it became very, very noisy with people who had no experience doing anything ever other than writing a book. By the way, were you referring to Joe Carbo, the Lazy Man's Guide to Riches? Is that?
I remember Joe very, very well. I knew all those guys back then. Yeah. Ben Schwartz, 7 Steps to Freedom, How to Escape the American Rat Race. Joe Carbo, The Lazy Man's Way to a Fortune. All those guys. Frank Zarcona was a good friend of mine. He did all this direct mail work. Yeah, Gary Halbert, Ted Nichols, who's one of the best print advertising guys. These were my mentors and compatriots. They were older than me. They didn't know how old I was, but when I was doing the Ginsu knife ad back in the 70s, they didn't know how old I was, but I learned a lot from these brilliant marketers who are absolutely spectacular.
Well, and I knew you, I had first become aware of you from the infomercials and from Mega Memory, and I bought Mega Memory and used it, the whole thing, and so when you came to where we were that day and hung out, we were like, wow, this is so cool, But you've been doing a lot of stuff for a long, long time, and I just heartily agree with, pay attention. The other thing, another thing that I get kind of a little bit bent out of shape with, abundance is an amount. People forget that abundance, you get things in abundance or it's scarce. Abundance we use kind of, to save money, but it's prosperity you want in abundance. And most people talk about, well, I teach you how to, attract abundance. And I'm like, yeah, but people are already attracting loads of crap and creating loads of crap. And what they need to learn is how to switch from doing the loads of crap, which they're experts at manifesting, to becoming experts at manifesting prosperity or love or, kindness or whatever else they would like to do. So there's a switch, not a switch, but a shift that needs to be made for a lot of people.
Yeah. A lot of people get tied up in a specific outcome. They get attached to a specific outcome. And the idea of success, if a person wants to manifest, we'll use that word, which is the hot word today, or attract. If you want to attract or manifest, which is really a misnomer. You're not attracting anything and you're not manifesting anything. What you're doing is creating. We have creative energy. Every person is a creative force. This is our drive. It's actually in the second chakra. We think it's the sex chakra. It's really not. The number one driver is survival. And the way we survive is by procreating. So the second chakra is a procreation or sex drive, but it's really creation. Procreation is just one expression of creation, and it's a very strong drive, certainly. But creation can be creating dinner, creating a beautiful home, creating a great relationship, creating a great physical body and great health, creating a garden, creating a great work environment, creating a successful business, creating a new product, creating a prosperous venture, creating a style of dress. So when you go out, you've created the way you look, creating a personality. Creation is our biggest driver. We think it's manifesting or attracting, but it's really not. We're really activating your creative power. And how do you funnel that creative power? That's why Napoleon Hill in the great book, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about sexual transmutation. And nobody understands that because sexual energy is just one expression of creation. And so what that really means is taking the the creative energy, which is being funneled through sex, and then transmuting it and funneling that energy into creating your business or creating your relationship or creating your happy family or creating your great health. And that's really the differentiation. Again, when people write books, and most people don't know this, but I would say about 70% of the books that are available online on how to manifest success, how to create success, how to attract success are all basically written by AI. People don't even write them. And I know this for a fact because I talk to people who are making millions of dollars selling books online on how to manifest your goals faster than ever before. And the book, the 30-page, 40-page, 50-page book, they just punch it into GPT and it printed it up. And all they did is then they had the AI write the ad and they put it up and they're sitting back going, this is a joke. Well, they're not using any of the techniques. They don't even know it's in the book. They didn't write it.
On top of that, they also now, have AI therapists. They just go, okay, so I'm going to be a life coach. I'm going to be this. So what would I do with this problem? And they get an answer and then they just funnel it back to some person. And yeah, it's sad because I think if you're gonna do anything, you should do it. You need to have the hands-on experience because that gives you the wisdom and the experience and the wherewithal to be able to adjust when you need to adjust, which was part of Hill's thing was create a plan and then work your plan because the plan is always going to change. So if you have no experience, you have no.
Yeah, let me give you an example of some sound good advice that most people read about and hear about versus reality. You read books, and there's a lot of books that are myths or fiction books about success.
Right.
And man, I read one book, I don't know, The Ferrari Monk or something, or there was some other book, and I read this book and it's a fictitious tale of, some people that they're struggling and they meet some homeless person, it appears on the beach, and he turns out to be a multi-billionaire, and he sends his plane to pick him up, and he sends him here and there, and he teaches him the mysteries of the universe and how to create, wealth. And this guy is just lovely and happy and goes with the flow. And this is how you create and manifest wealth, because all you have to do is just allow money to flow into your life. You just have to love people and everything's good. And I'm reading this crap thinking, really? Okay, I was just in a room with 40 guys 3 weeks ago. Every guy in there was worth at least $1 billion or close to. One guy was the founder and chairman of the second largest hedge fund in the world, controlling almost $1 trillion. In that room, there was probably close to $2 trillion in wealth or control of wealth in that room. We were watching TV, and one of the guys, Fox News had this big presidential thing going on at some big event center in Long Island. It was had his name on it. I'm not going to mention his name. So that's the guys I'm with. And I said, do you guys just go with the flow and just let everything happen in life? And I was talking about this particular book, which is a #1 New York Times bestseller. And they're all looking at me like I'm insane. They're going, what are you talking about? Look, wealthy people are driven. They scream, they yell, they get mad. Stephen Jobs was said to be an absolute a-hole, right? So is Henry Ford. So is John D. Rockefeller. So is Andrew Carnegie. Let's go through all the people today. Dell. How about Musk? Do you think these guys just woke up and go, I'm going to meditate and I'm just going to let the universe, provide for me and love everybody? That's not how it works. So this is this fantasy, and that just doesn't exist in real life. If you want to make something happen, life has a tendency to make things not happen. It's up to you to make things happen. Things have a tendency not to happen. It's up to a person to make things happen. And when you are driven to make something happen, whether you're a sports superstar, do you think everything just worked perfectly for these sports superstars? They had no pushback. They had no adversity. They had no obstacles they overcome. Are you kidding me? Successful people deal with more obstacles and more pushback and more adversity than anybody else. Successful people are not people without problems. They got way more problems than you and way bigger problems than you. The difference is they overcome problems. The difference is successful people, when they're faced with adversity, when they're faced with a mountain, they don't cower. They get fired up. They love a fight. They love competition. They feel like that pushback, that lawsuit, that government contract that got denied, that deal that didn't happen, the bank that called their loan, all the things that go against them, the approval from the government for the right zoning didn't get approved. They don't cower. They push back. They attack. They fight. This is something I can't find a book that tells you the real story of how people are successful. Listen, I've been in people's homes that are I was in a guy's house. It was a $35 million house 30 years ago. It's probably a $150 million house now. And this guy was screaming and yelling and making, he was throwing things. He was upset that something didn't happen. His people didn't do the right thing to his satisfaction. And he looked miserable all day long. He looked upset all day long. And according to the law of attraction, you're going to basically, if you're not feeling good now, you're not going to attract good things. Well, this guy was making money hand over fist, and it didn't seem like he was feeling good now. Well, later in that evening, and I said to him, boy, you had a rough day. You were like mad and angry all day long. And you know what he said? He smiled and goes, I love it. So this is the interesting dichotomy. He actually enjoyed being mad. He enjoyed getting angry. He enjoyed the fight. He enjoyed the game, the action. That gave him joy and pleasure. So on the inside, he was actually putting out a vibration of joy and happiness and feeling good. But on the outside, it didn't look that way. He said, do you think if I just treat everybody with kid gloves, they're going to perform? He says sometimes people need a kick in the ass. Yes, sometimes they need a pat on the back. He goes, but most of the time they need a kick in the ass.
Well, it's you brought up Napoleon Hill, and he talks about the 520 people that he modeled in order to, put together the philosophy that Carnegie commissioned him to put together, right? That all of them had incredible hardships and were incredible fighters. And I mean, and even the people say, well, I don't like Henry Ford because he was in this or that or the other. So the people who were successful, interestingly enough, oftentimes, were like that. Now, he did say later in his life, the only person out of the 520 that had peace of mind was John Burroughs, the naturalist. He said he sought peace rather than cash, and so he had a better life than a lot of these other people did who lost their money or, committed suicide or died penniless or broke or whatever. But I really appreciate what you said, because I think that our hardships are to get us to move out of our comfort zones, because we won't move out of comfort zones if there's not a problem or something. And you're absolutely, I think, so right on. There are people who they love being the dealing and the wheeling, and they love the creating and the moving and the manufacturing, and that's where they thrive. And so their vibe is different than the one that's being presented. So I let me run this by you, because I always say, people say I don't have enough energy or I don't have energy, and I go, that's bull crap, right? You have plenty of energy. You're a walking battery. What you don't have is how to manage that energy. You don't know what to do. And every battery, like a car battery, has a positive and negative pole. So what we call negative is just a judgment, but there's something that's going on inside of us, polarities and things that are also, there's the for and there's the against kind of energy. But it all comes down to management. It all comes down to understanding the process and managing the process. And for the guy who's like thriving on creating what appears to be chaos, you're right. He's vibrating at a different level than other people would say, because all they're seeing is, well, that seems like he's angry, so he should be having more anger.
Right. The energy that moves molecules in the universe so that you actually manifest, create what you want, that energy has to be unreasonable. George Bernard Shaw said that the universe does not yield to a reasonable man. A universe will only yield to an unreasonable man. Therefore, all creation in life comes from the unreasonable man. People that, like Henry Ford, said, we are going to build a V8 engine. And his engineers, the ones who were learned in engineering, because Henry Ford wasn't, he was a farmer. He didn't know what the hell he was talking about. This idiot, Henry Ford, said to his engineers, I want you to build me a V8 engine. And one of his engineers was by the name of Walter Chrysler, by the way. And there was also the Dodge brothers that worked for Henry Ford. The engineer said, Henry, it's impossible to build a V8 engine. It can't be done. The physics don't work. And he said, let me tell you something. In the next 8 weeks, you guys are going to build me a V8 engine, or you're all fired, and I'm going to find a group of people that will. And he walked out the door. And they said, he's unreasonable. He's being unreasonable. He's being unreasonable. 8 weeks later, they walked into Henry Ford and said, we have a V8 engine. The universe yields to the unreasonable man. Success is a decision away. When you make a decision, I'm going to do it, that's it, period. The universe takes notice. The angels stand up. The universe gets together and works and conspires to help you manifest, create what you want. It will yield to your decision. When you are given unstoppable decision, a commitment, everything changes. One person with a commitment is more powerful than 1,000 people with an interest.
So beautiful. Absolutely so beautiful. It's two of my favorite quotes, obviously, the one that everybody knows so Ford is, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. The other one that most people don't know is, I never let what I cannot do prevent me from doing what I can. And I love that because, you're talking about being unreasonable and being dedicated. Also, one of my favorite stories is Edward C. Barnes, that you first meet in Think and Grow Rich, Laws of Success, that says he was started as a whim or a wish, became a white hot obsession. So he jumped this train, dressed as a hobo to go put Edison on notice that he was going to be his partner. And he mumbled something to Edison. Edison later in life said, I couldn't hear what he was saying. I had no idea what this guy wanted. So I just gave him a job as a janitor. But the look in his eye told me that there was something to him. If you turn a page or two later, it says for 5 years, nothing gave him any indication. There's no outward evidence that circumstances would ever change. But inwardly, Hill writes, Barnes continued to work on his, on what he wanted inside until an opportunity, came about, and he was able to sell the dictaphones that nobody else could sell, and he became Edison's partner. But it's because he didn't give up, because he did persist, and even though there was no outward evidence, what you said, the decision to do it in spite of everything else, like I want a V8 engine, so I'm going to have one, is different than what most people do, which is, I wish I had money, I want money, I'm going to think about money, and then you think about the lack of it instead of, I'm going to go create it, I'm going to go make it, I'm going to do something, whatever it might be, whether it's cooking a dinner. If I just sit home and go, I want dinner, but I don't either call it or create it or make it or have someone make it for me, I all I'm doing is imagining dinner.
There's a couple energies, if you will. You can call them character traits, but they're really energies that you put out that are missing today. As a matter of fact, I was just reading an article that Fortune 500 companies are firing people that they just hired out of college in the last 2 to 3 years. They're firing them just like that. And these are people that just got out of college in the last 2 to 3 years. So they get out of college, they get hired by a Fortune 500 company because they have an MBA, they have a college degree from a fine university, and then they get fired. And the CEOs of all these Fortune 500 companies said that what's missing with the people today coming out of college, and they've never seen this before, is lack of initiative. Now think about that word initiative. It's lack of being a self-starter. There's very little initiative. There's very little motivation. There's very little drive. Just think about what's your drive? How motivated are you? What type of initiative do you have? This stems from having the determination to get someplace, to achieve something, to make something happen. It's an I will not be denied attitude. I'm going to do it. That's it, period. That's why the phrase success is a decision away is so powerful. It's an axiom for success. When you make the decision, I'm going to do it, that's it, period. We call it being a go-getter based on the book called The Go-Getter. And it was a book written many, many years ago. Short little book. Highly recommend everyone read it. It's about a young man who's injured, comes out of the war. I think it was the First World War. He gets a job trying to sell wood, but he can't, he's got problems. But he is a go-getter. And you can see how he gets the job when there were very little jobs around during the Depression, how he succeeds in the job being a go-getter. He has that determination. I'm going to do it. That's it, period. I will not be denied. And then he is given a test to go get at a store a blue vase and deliver it to the boss. And it's a test designed for him to fail. He gets the blue vase. And what he goes through, anyone would have quit. Anyone would have given up, but he doesn't. And he delivers the blue vase. And the boss said, there's only 2 people that ever got the blue vase. I was one of them, and you are the second. Wow. You're now hired as the vice president in charge of China. And he got this huge promotion because he showed that initiative. As a matter of fact, Rex, when I would hire people, this is before the internet, talking 20, 30 years ago. One of the things I would do is after I went through a few of the interview processes, I would say, I want you to go get a book called The Go-Getter, read it, and then write me a 1-page letter explaining How in the past, give me an example of you being the go-getter and why you think you're a go-getter. One page, one side. So I give very specific instructions. The book at the time was out of print. There was no Amazon. You couldn't find it online. You actually had to call bookstores. You actually sometimes had to call used bookstores. And you wouldn't believe the percentage of people, half, would call up and say, hey, I can't find the book. Well, clearly you're not the go-getter. You're not being hired. What do you mean? You have no clue, no idea. But the other half came in, here's the book, Mr. Trudeau, here's my paper. And they would just smile. And I would say, how'd you get that book, by the way? I did whatever it took. Some people didn't tell me. Another guy says, well, I drove 250 miles to a bookstore after calling about 30, and I found a bookstore that had one. And I went and picked it up.
Wow.
Who do you think gets hired? This is the guy. But see, this is an energy that we don't have today. And if you want to manifest goals, dreams, and desires, if you want to use the law of attraction, yes, you have to vibrate properly. You have to put out the right vibration. There's 10 steps. I teach that in Your Wish is Your Command, my course, the audio course, How to Manifest Your Desires. And I never put this together. I generated $25 billion in sales before I went into the Alps and brought people in and charged $50,000 for people to sit there for 2 days. And I taught them these techniques. And these are people that read Napoleon Hill's works. They read Abraham, the teachings of Abraham, Esther Hicks. They read Tony Robbins stuff, Joe Vitale, Brian Tracy, Earl Nightingale, Charlie Tremendous Jones, Ed Foreman, Jim Rohn. They read all the stuff on manifesting. They read all the older books, Walter Waddles, The Science of Getting Rich, et cetera, et cetera. So these people knew this material. When they came in for 2 days and I taught them the 10 steps on how to manifest your goals, your wish is your command, the jaws hit the ground. They were like, I never heard this in any book anywhere. Yeah, because nobody knows it. Because they're not teaching from knowing, they're teaching from knowing about.
Oh, that's incredible. And you're going to share something later from Your Wishes, Your Command. So just so people know to.
I'm actually going to give everybody who's watching, if they want a copy, it's a 14-hour audio digital download that we sell now. We have an introductory, we're selling it for the first time for $500, but I'm going to give it to everybody who's watching for free. So stay with me, and I'm going to give you a QR code you can click and a coupon code, and you'll be able to get that and be able to have it instant access to it for free. That's coming up in a bit.
So stay tuned and watch that. And if you have questions or comments, please do put them in the chat. One thing that there's two things I actually want to say. One is somebody says hello. One of the things that I wanted to piggyback on is I'm in the film business. So, I have a lot of, I consult and I do a lot of things with different people. And somebody got and I talk about this a lot, but somebody got a big power meeting with a huge producer. And he said, I read your script. I like it. I think it would be better if you did some of these things, And so they sat there, they listened and everything. And the lunch ended, and I asked the person who was telling me the story about their lunch, I said, did you make the changes that he suggested? And the person said, no, because I wrote it with somebody else. I'd had to get that permission. No, I didn't do this. I said, so what you did is you sat down with this really big producer who gave you notes, and you walked away and did nothing about it. So you didn't even demonstrate that you were a person of action. What I would do if I were you is that
He muted himself.
You muted yourself, Rex.
Weird. It just muted on its own.
Oh, okay, now you're good.
Was I muted the whole time?
No, just the last couple of seconds.
Oh, Very strange.
I'm thinking this is good stuff. I want to hear it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So I was like, if you demonstrate that you are a person who you went, this good person could be a mentor, could be a colleague, could, do any number of things for you, but you didn't even demonstrate that you had the wherewithal to take the advice that the person was doing and demonstrate that you could do it and come back and say, what do you think? So you're like one of the 99.9% of people who take advice from people and do nothing with it. And so what you're talking about is people initiating and acting and, one decision away, deciding, and then actually following through. I would piggyback that with going back to Edward C. Barnes. Napoleon Hill later in life, Barnes he had a different suit for every day. And back in the, teens and the 20s, the suits were $1,500, $3,000, $5,000 suits. So he was getting rid of a bunch of them. And Hill said, you could give me some of those suits. He goes, well, you wouldn't appreciate them the way I do, so there's no point in giving them to you. And I said, well, no, I would. He said, you don't understand. When I went to see Edison, I was dressed like a bum. And when I stood in front of him as a bum, I decided in that moment I would never let any other human be better dressed than I am. And so he spent the rest of his time, when he became wealthy as Edison's partner, he spent all this money on looking impeccably tailored and everything else because he had decided that he would be the best dressed person in the room or wherever he went. He said, you don't have that. You didn't have that. So your desire for it is it's just another suit for you. For me, it's a decision that I made.
Again, success is a decision away. And it's a very specific kind of decision. It's a decision that is in cement. It's not a decision that you change. It is a commitment. When you have that decision, you then exercise or express another energy. In addition to initiative, you express as an energy persistence and consistency. Remember this phrase, do the right things long enough, consistently. Persistence, John D. Rockefeller said, if there's one thing that will overcome everything, including nature, is persistence. Persistence is never yielding, never giving up. When you get knocked down, and you will, you get up again. And when you get knocked down, and you will, you get up again with even more determination. Remember that word, determination. If you're watching, write these words down. Initiative. You should look the word up in the dictionary, get the definition, find out the etymology of the word so you understand the true meaning. Use the word in the sentence so you can activate and illuminate that so it'll give you power. Initiative, persistence, perseverance, commitment. These are the words that you have to understand. Decision. When you understand the power of these words, this is something that you don't see in a book on how to use the law of attraction. I've never once seen the word initiative, persistence, perseverance, commitment in the law of attraction. I see things like feel good now. Do things that make you feel good. Always feel good. Show gratitude and appreciation for all things. This is the biggest lie in the law of attraction. I looked at some stats yesterday. They sucked. I'm looking at my stats and they suck. Do I say, I'm just so grateful and appreciative that I got the stats sent to me, and I'm just grateful and appreciative at the way everything is going? No, that's not what I did. I got on the phone and said, I want a meeting right now in the next 5 minutes. And I started yelling and saying, what the hell are you guys doing? You guys don't have a permanent contract to work here. If you want to keep your job, you got to perform. Just like a coach in a football. Oh, here's the coach. You're the coach. I want you to win a championship. 3 years later, he still hasn't even made the playoffs. What do they do with the coach? You're fired. They hire a quarterback, first round draft pick. You're going to lead this team to championships. 2 years later, he's got a losing record. What do? Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm so appreciative. No, you're fired. And everybody else gets a wake-up call. And then you have, having a come to Jesus meeting is something that has to happen.
Yeah.
Now, there's a time for a kick in the ass, but also a pat on the back. And you do absolutely 100% show gratitude and appreciation for the things that deserve gratitude and appreciation. But if there's a situation in your life that you don't like, that you're fed up with, you need to basically confront that. Everything in your life, you can handle it. It can be handled. It can be sorted out if you're willing to confront it. Whatever you can confront, you can handle. If you can't confront it, it'll never get sorted out on its own. In life, things have a tendency not to happen. It's up to a person to make it happen. If it is to be, it's up to me. That should be the mantra. And you don't read about this in Law of Attraction books. Yes, there is a place for gratitude and appreciation. Look for things to be grateful for, but also look for things that piss you off, because only with the pain can you contract energy where you can then clearly define what you want. You must know what you will not tolerate anymore. You must know what you absolutely do not like, what you will not tolerate anymore. I will not tolerate being broke anymore. I'm not going to tolerate it. When you come to that decision, you contract energy, and then the whole universe wakes up and goes, oops, this guy's serious now.
No, I really appreciate you saying that, and I love it, because there's so many people, and I know you do. We deal with these people every day in some ways that will say, the challenge I have, and I always say, it's not a challenge, it's a problem. And they go, well, yeah, but I call it a challenge. I go, yeah, but a rock climber who's climbing with their fingertips to the top of some pinnacle, that's their challenge. They're doing it because they love it. It's a challenge. They're exerting themselves. They're doing something. They're thriving. You use challenge, yes, synonymously for problem. So, all you're saying is, I'm problem. I have a problem here. I have a problem there. I'm challenged here. I'm challenged there. And they don't get to that point of saying, that's it. I'm done. Never again. I won't tolerate that. And I always say, the only reason we leave our comfort zones is because it's painful, because if I'm sitting on the couch eating bonbons and donuts, I don't want to leave unless there's a fire or something happens and I have to move. So hardships in the world are those things that get us moving. I mean, we have heat because it was too cold. We have cooling because it was too hot. We wore clothes because we were, every innovation comes about as a result of something that could be eliminated as a problem or improved upon, as something that would benefit humankind. But somebody asked a question. It flashed up on the screen a while ago. I want to see if I can get it back, because, being a stranger to hardship as a professional manifester is what I'm saying is it's not lost on us. Hardship is part of life. Most people think if I become a professional manifester, then there is no hardship. So I disagree with that. But I do want to have, if you would answer this person's question, because I think it's a truly important question. How can you be happy, Kevin, and without worries while going through the hell that you went through with your legal situation?
It's a great question. Now, for those of you who don't know, I was not charged with a crime. I was held in contempt of court because I was exercising my First Amendment rights in relation to my #1 New York Times bestselling book, Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About, which was #1 on the New York Times bestselling list 26 weeks in a row, the best-selling book in all of America the year it came out. It exposed the pharmaceutical companies for the first time in a mass way. It exposed the federal government, the Food and Drug Administration, and the Federal Trade Commission for their criminal acts at holding back and suppressing the truth about non-drug and non-surgical ways to cure and prevent disease. I was held in contempt of court for, that's not a crime. Contempt of court is not a misdemeanor. It's not a felony. It's called surrogeriitis, a thing of its own. And I was given the longest sentence in the history of America for contempt of court, 10 years in a federal penitentiary. Everything I owned was ordered to be confiscated by the federal government. All of my houses, all of my clothes, all of my furniture, all of my books, my cars, my jewelry, everything. When I came out of prison, I had 2 suitcases. That was it. And some crappy clothes. That was it. I didn't even have a toothbrush. I had nothing. They emptied all my bank accounts, everything. And so people say, how can you be happy when you went through that hell? The answer is, well, there's really two questions here. If you know how to manifest stuff, how did you manifest that, Kevin? The law of attraction doesn't work. James Arthur Ray, who I knew very well, he just passed away. He was a manifesting expert. He had a problem where he did a sweat lodge ceremony and 3 people died. He got convicted and he went to prison. He became bitter. He said, the law of attraction is a load of crap. It doesn't work because I tried to use all the techniques and I still went to prison. I got convicted even though I really didn't do anything wrong. And he came out a very bitter man and he just died recently. So why do bad things happen to good people or people that know how to manifest? The answer is what you think is bad is not bad. There was a story about a Chinese man, and this Chinese man had a son, and his son was playing with his horses. The Chinese man was a very poor man, but the only wealth they had was 10 horses. And the son left the gate open by accident, and all the horses ran away. And all of his friends says, this is horrible. This is horrible. You've lost your wealth, everything you had, all your possessions was tied up in those 10 horses, and your son left the gate open and they ran away. And the Chinese man said, maybe it's bad, maybe it's not. 2 days later, the 10 horses came back with a whole bunch of wild horses. And now the man had 100 horses. And everybody said, this is so amazing. You are so blessed. This is such a good thing. You now have 100 horses. And the Chinese man said, well, maybe it's good, maybe not. His son got on one of the wild horses to kind of break the horse. The horse threw the son. The son fell off and broke his leg. And his friend said, this is terrible. You have a son with a broken leg. This is such a bad thing that happened. And the Chinese man said, well, maybe it was bad, maybe not. A few days later, the Chinese army came and conscripted, took away all the young men to go fight into battle, most certainly to die. But they couldn't take this man's son because of his broken leg. And all of his friends said, this is good. You were so lucky. And the story goes on and on and on. So what you think is good or what you think is bad isn't not necessarily true. Remember this phrase, the universe doesn't do things to us. It does things for us. Every successful person, John D. Rockefeller said it, Napoleon Hill said it, in every adversity are the seeds of a greater benefit. The universe is not doing things to us, it's doing things for us. I manifested having all of my possessions taken away. I manifested being put away in prison for 10 years. I couldn't understand exactly why at the time, but the universe gives you what you want, but usually in a manner that you don't understand. It can be off the radar screen. When I was away, I rested, I meditated every day, I did yoga, I played tennis, I shot pool, I played bridge, I learned German, I learned Spanish. I completely recharged my batteries. It was the most amazing, wonderful sabbatical anyone could ever have. And because of that, I went into the ether and meditated, and I wrote the Science of Personal Mastery course, 100 lessons. It's about this thick. It is the training that I got in the Brotherhood of how to release your abilities and control your mind and release your supernatural abilities. I would have never had the time or ability to focus to write that if I wasn't away. And when I came out, since everything was taken away, I had this beautiful opportunity to have a clean slate, a blank canvas. I had nothing attached to, I had no responsibility, nothing. Yes, I had nothing, but you can take away all the money, but you can't take away my ability to create. Walt Disney said that. And Viktor Frankl said in the book, Man's Search for Meaning, when he went into a concentration camp, you can control everything in my life, but the one thing you can't control is my mind, my thoughts. So when I went away, that was not hell to me. I actually looked at it as a blessing. I was excited. I was happy. People say that's insane. It's true. You ask the people that came. Mary Miller came. We were talking about that earlier before we went online. She came to visit me. Grandmaster Ty came to visit me several times. Other people came to visit me. A Hollywood producer came. They were amazed at how happy I was and how joyful I was and how much I was enjoying that process. See, what you resist persists. And there's the serenity prayer, which says, God grant me the patience to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I looked at that as a blessing. Matter of fact, Rex, one more thing. The warden one day was walking down the compound, and I was walking this way. He was walking this way. We passed, and he stopped me, and he said, Trudeau. He said, I've been in the Bureau of Prisons for 35 years. I've seen tens of thousands of inmates, and I've never seen one who's actually happy to be here. And I said, I'm actually happy to be here. He goes, I know. And then he walked away, and you know what he said? He said, hey, Trudeau. He turned around and he goes, and you're the only one who I can honestly say shouldn't be here. I says, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And he walked away. So
Wow.
when you're in a situation where you can't change the circumstances, you have a choice. You can either be miserable and the circumstances are not going to change, or you can be happy because the circumstances aren't going to change either way. The only thing that's going to change is whether you're happy or miserable. I chose to be happy.
No, that is absolutely beautiful, and it's and very, very powerful, because I think therein is the key to so much personal success and happiness, is that you can't change the outer events, even maybe if you could, but let's say you can't, and you can't, then the only thing you have left is to change your attitude or yourself. And a lot of people miss it. They still try and, force the situations to change instead of going, what can I transform about myself so that I can move forward? Hardship, again, the notion that there's a equivalency of opportunity inside of every adversity, but you got to look for it. You got to find it. If you don't,
you got to look for the gold. And, I talked earlier about gratitude and appreciation. And this is really the distinction. The distinction is when you're in a situation where you can't change the situation. Yes, you have to be I'm not going to take this anymore. But when you're in a situation that's not going to change for a period of time, don't be miserable.
Right.
Be grateful, be appreciative, look for the gold. Okay. But still make sure that you're not so happy and complacent that you're going to continue to perpetuate it.
Well, the very most beautiful thing, whenever I would hear about you or from you or whatever while you were in confinement, was, don't feel sorry for me. I'm enjoying this. This is good. I've created this. However it's created, this is, necessary. And I like that attitude. It is so very, very true. We've got somebody who keeps asking the same question over. I saw it flash up on the screen. Somebody's controlling some of this stuff in weird ways and I don't know who it is. And that's okay. But they asked about let me see if I can find it, because somebody put it up there and I didn't do it.
And by the way, while you're looking for that, in a moment, we're going to put up a QR code and a coupon code. If anybody wants my course, Your Wish is Your Command. It's an audio course. You can get an instant digital download instantly. We sell it for $500. I'm going to give you a coupon code so you get it absolutely free, no charge whatsoever. And there's a video called 10 Steps to Manifesting Your Dreams that I recorded in my private club, the Global Information Network, at our leadership weekend last year. It was only for our members only. And you're going to get that for free as well. And if you do want to manifest goals, dreams, and desires, this is being called the greatest manifesting course of all time, because it contains material that you haven't heard in other courses or read in other books, because they just don't know really the recipe or the formula.
Wow, that's awesome. And you know me, I love you. I love your work. I love what you do. So anybody who's watching now, be sure to
downloaded that. I noticed that you sent me a text. You said you got Your Wish is Your Command.
Yep, I went and downloaded it, and so I'm very happy. I'm very pleased. And so I suggest everybody else do it too. Listen, I can't post the question, but essentially it was this. They said that they had done Your Wish is Your Command, and they want to know how to activate or make it work for themselves, that they were having some problems with it, and wanted something about, are they not? Am I not applying the principles, or is there some?
Yeah. So what I recommend is download the Your Wish is Your Command and get it for free, and watch the video, 10 Steps to Manifesting. The 10 Steps to Manifesting video, which is only 1 hour, takes the Your Wish is Your Command concepts, which I have in my possession hundreds of thousands of communications from people that say that they listened to it and it has dramatically increased their income. Their relationships got better. I have people I have one guy who's like almost 350 pounds said, I haven't been on a date in a long time. He goes, I'm meeting women like crazy. It's manifesting in that respect, relationships, health, et cetera, et cetera. But the 1 hour video, 10 steps to manifesting, watch that. That will, for anyone out there where it hasn't connected, and it's very rare, but watch that. That's going to put all the pieces of the puzzle together for you.
Excellent. Excellent. So we're almost where we would normally close. If you'd like to go a little longer, if there's anything else you would like to do, because we want to make sure that they do that.
I'm gonna have Trey put up the QR code and the coupon code. So if you want to get the Your Wish is Your Command program, we're putting up a QR code here in a moment. Just click on the QR code. And there's a coupon code there. So use that promo code. So when you click on the QR code, it's going to take you to a page and just fill out all your information. We charge $500, so we ask for your credit card. But then when you punch in the promo code, it says at the bottom, we're charging you $0. So you don't get charged a penny as long as you put in the promo code. You'll have instant access to the 14 hours, the seminar that I recorded in the Swiss Alps. And at that seminar, I had 100 people. They paid $50,000 to come. I had the king of a country there. I had several billionaires there. We were in a private resort, part of my club at the time, the Brotherhood. So it was a private, secret location. And then I went into the studio, did a little editing on it, and it is just the material that you need to know that'll reprogram you and teach you the formula on how to manifest goals, dreams, and desires. And you're also going to get the 1 hour video called 10 Steps to Manifesting, which takes all the material from Your Wish is Your Command and breaks it down into 10 simple steps. It's only a 1 hour video, and it puts all the pieces of the puzzles together. It's really an unbeatable formula if you want to create more money, make more money, have a better relationship, better health. If you want to create happiness, enjoy in your life, or manifest the life that you always dreamed about. It is possible. You can make all your dreams come true.
Absolutely. So go ahead, grab a screenshot or get your phone out and get the QR code so we can bring Kevin back. We'll give it another few seconds. And
it's always lovely to be on your show, Rex. You do a magnificent job. You're really excellent at what you do, and everyone loves you, and I love being on your show.
And I love having you on my show. I hope you'll do it again. I hope you'll do this again sometime soon.
I will.
All right. So that's very cool. I would love to give you the closing comment. Any other thing that you'd like to say or share?
I will just share what Zig Ziglar said, because I don't think anyone says it better. You were born to win. You were engineered for success. You were designed for accomplishment. And you were endowed with the seeds of greatness. You have greatness within you. Let it out. I'll see you at the top.
I'll see you in just a few minutes, but thank you so much for being here. We will see you at the top too.
Okay.
All right, be right back. Wow. Well, that's Kevin Trudeau today on the show. I'm so thrilled that he's here. He always delivers the gold and brings more value than most of us can imagine. So I thank him for that. And I appreciate you for being here. One of the things that you can do to help us, help Kevin, help me, help the show, is to subscribe, hit the subscription button and the bell notification so you always know when there's new shows and new things are dropping all the time. But also like and comment, ask questions, leave comments in the replay, and share it out. Share it out wherever you are. Share it to somebody who needs to hear this information. Could be a loved one, could be a stranger, but go ahead and push it out there, because the information that you're getting is important information to have. But it's not just enough to have the information. You have to act on the information. You apply the information. You know what? The world's your oyster. You know, it always is, and it always can be, and it always will be, when you do something to make something happen. You know, if it's to be, it's up to me, but if it's to come true for you, it's up to you. So you do that, and we'll do our part and continue to bring you shows and incredible guests like Kevin. With that said, I need you to know that tomorrow I've got something coming up, and you're invited. It normally would cost, but we're doing something at no charge tomorrow. I'm going to put up the link right now so that you can see that. Actually, let's see if they can put it in a banner form. And it's, there you go. And I'll show the little brief video if I'm able to here. I think this was a story.
What if you could improve your business with just one question? On January 30th, 4 legends of sales and business come together. Meet the masters. Rex Steven Sikes, master of mindset. Ben Gay III, the ultimate closer. Rick Sedler, luxury brand virtuoso. Danny Walsh, funnel building maestro. One night, 4 legends, unlimited potential. Ask your question and get it answered live. Sign up now. No replays, no repeats, just pure wisdom. January 30th, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK. Reserve your spot now. One question can change everything.
And there you have that. That's coming up tomorrow, the 30th. And so we're very glad that you are here for that and here to get your wishes, your command. And I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank all that you who attend today and who've left comments or had questions. A show every week, every Wednesday. Kevin has his show, Limitless, so be sure to pay attention to both of us and just have a great time. And with that, I'm going to say goodbye. Remember, if you consider something a problem, it's a problem. If you consider something it's a blessing, it's a blessing. That's why I say celebrate everything. I'll see you the next time.